Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Grand Traverse, where all are truly welcome, all of every background, identity, age, and color. We especially extend our loving welcome to families with young children. We know that children often show their excitement when they have a chance to shine. Our young friends are anxious to take an active part in our service and to let you know they are here and have thoughts and ideas to share. So be prepared to not only see, but also to hear from our young friends as they fully participate in the Time for All Ages. I am Susan Smith, co-coordinator of this service with Dave Newhouse. We are both members of the Sunday Services Committee. At the top of our order of service, please note several informational items. If you choose to share in the Joys and Concerns book at the front of the sanctuary, Connie Metcalf from the Congregational Care Team will read what you choose to share later in this service. That sharing enables us to support one another through our individual challenges and losses, and to share in each other's celebration, growing ever closer as a result. Here at UUCGT, we enthusiastically embrace and welcome you just as you are to our beloved community. You might say, we have been waiting for you and your authentic self all of our lives, and we are so glad that you're finally here. If you are new to our congregation or haven't been here for a while and are willing and able, you may stand to introduce yourself. Chris will bring a microphone which will enable even those streaming from home to hear your introduction. However, please feel free to remain seated and silent if you prefer. Is there anyone who would like to introduce themselves today?
You gotta keep your Hi, I'm Carol Chirquin and my husband Marty, and we're here to support my dear sister Mary for her presentation.
Thank you so much for being here. Anyone else? For our social hour following services, we have designated yellow mugs for our visitors so that we can identify you and welcome you individually to our beloved community. Today, we are fortunate to have several people sharing their reflections on freedom, responsibility, and fatherhood. We earmarked and highlighted fatherhood for today's service because next Sunday is Drag Queen Sunday, and we will not be highlighting it on that day. We will hear specifically from Dave Newhouse, Chris Walter, Claude Fields, and Mary Van Valen, each from their own experiences and backgrounds and about their own fathers. These 4 reflections are scattered throughout our service to give you a chance to digest and reflect on each one individually. Let us now turn our attention to our centering music, Head Full of Doubt, Road Full of Promise, performed by Anne Marie Jones and Margie Hunter on piano.
There's a darkness upon me that's flooded in light. In the fine print they tell me what's wrong and what's right. And it comes in black and it comes in white, and I'm frightened by those that don't see it. was a dream, and one day I could see it. Like a bird in a cage, I broke in and demanded that somebody free it. And there was a kid with a head full of doubt. So I'll scream till I die, and the last of those bad thoughts are finally out. There's a darkness upon you that's flooded in light. In the fine print they tell you what's wrong and what's right. And it flies by day and it flies by night, and I'm frightened by those who don't see it. There was a dream, and one day I could see it. Like a bird in a cage, I broke in and demanded that somebody free it. And there was a kid with a head full of doubt. So I'll scream till I die, and the last of those bad thoughts are finally out. There's a darkness upon me that's flooded in light. In the fine print they tell me what's wrong and what's right. There's a darkness upon me that's flooded with light. And I'm frightened by those who don't see it.
As Dave lights the chalice, please join me in reading the words of our covenant printed on the back of your order of service. I'm accountable for me. You're accountable for you. In community, we hold each other through joy and conflict. We openly welcome all as we respond to the needs of the world. And now let us sound the singing bowl to focus our attention on this moment and our sacred time together.
As we think about freedom this month, we reflect on so many UU principles, including freely and responsibly searching for truth and meaning, and pursuing a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. As I thought about this talk, I thought about my dad. 80 years ago, his armored battalion was on occupation duty in Germany, a month and a half after VE Day. Those folks helped secure freedom for a large part of the world. They defeated a crazy tyrant who had destroyed his own country. there are lessons in this. Freedom, of course, has two sides. With responsibility to the yang, to freedom's yin. If we accept freedom, we must do it with responsibility. My dad answered the call, so did 750,000 guys. Nowhere is the relationship more evident than in our thoughts about fatherhood. As we think ahead and prepare for Father's Day, the father-child relationships we've experienced, whether with our children, our fathers, our grandparents, have brought us joy or tears as we've gained the freedom to become responsible adults on our own. As we've grown, hopefully, to be better people through these relationships, we recognize the role of the many fathers who have shaped our lives. Biological fathers, adoptive fathers, stepfathers, bosses, teachers, mentors, ministers. Of course, no small number of women have played these important nurturing and directing roles as well. Now, I think about freedom of, as opposed to from, religion as not a license to impose our moral choices on others, as some do. Fathering that is compassionate, conscientious, loving, respectful, and supportive is different from a rigid, patriarchal, masculine, strong father role that diminishes and limits rather than builds up sensible children, free to act responsibly on their own. Frederick Douglass said, "It's better to build strong children than to repair broken men." And I wonder if you can think of any examples. I am grateful for my families, maternal, paternal, and I've learned so much about fathering from my son and grandkids, as well as from my dad. I only wish I'd been more open to deeper conversations with Dad in the fishing boat or on shore or in-house, without the fear of him judging my failings, real or imagined, and disregarding his advice. There's not a handful, there's a landful of women that could be your wife. It didn't end well. Anyway, among those lessons of freedom that children inherit is when their parent models and lives out emotional vulnerability as well as strength. When children develop moral courage as they see it practiced by their parents, their grandparents, their role models. When empathy and authenticity they learn to present to the world is based on the love we parents practice freely, and responsibly. So our children and those we mentor, support, care for, can learn to fly free in their own chosen lives, rooted in the knowledge that they are accepted, loved, protected, valued. We fathers are free to act responsibly and be accountable for our actions. They will be free to be accountable for who they become. So today, as we think ahead to Father's Day, we'll hear several other memories and reflections on freedom, responsibility, and fatherhood. Our collective hope is that these messages remind you of your own experiences and memories around fatherhood and freedom, and encourage you to live in love and peace. So let us begin by rising as you're willing or able to join in singing number 291 in the Gray Hymnal, Die Gedanken sind frei, a Middle Ages German resistance song.
Let's begin by practicing our German. Repeat after me. Die Gedanken sind frei. Die Gedanken sind frei. Okay, I think we've got it. Die Gedanken sind frei, my thoughts freely flower. Die Gedanken sind frei, my thoughts give me power. No sour can melt them, no hunter can
up to the carpet this morning. Hello, hello. Good morning. A grand entrance, if I've seen one. Hi.
Something silly. This scarf is from Germany.
We just sang a song in German and your scarf is from Germany. How magical. I love that. All right, this morning, my friends, I have a question for you. How many of you have ever had one of your parents go on a trip without you? Has anybody? Yeah? Some of you? Yes, some of you have. Yeah, some of you grown-ups have, right? Have any of you gone to ever like pick them up at the airport or, yeah, so that's what this story is about today. It's about a family going to pick up their dad at the airport. What does that feel like, those of you that have done it, those of you whose parents have like gone on a trip and you get to go pick them up? How does that feel? Feels good? Feels exciting. You want to hear all about their stories, right? What they did while they were gone. Maybe you want to see if they brought you presents. Yeah, your grandparents do that a lot. That is true. They're coming back today. Yay, we've missed them. All right, well, this story is called Papa's Coming Home, and it is by Chasten Buttigieg and illustrated by Dan Taylor. Today was the day Rosie and Jojo had been waiting for all week. Their papa was finally coming home, and they were going to go to the airport to welcome him. Rosie was so excited she wore her sparkliest headband. Jojo was so excited he wore his brightest light-up sneakers. "Let's make welcome home signs," Rosie said. She loved making signs and placing them all around the house. "Okay," Jojo said. "How do you spell welcome?" Rosie wasn't sure, so they did their best. 1 hour, 2 bottles of glue, and 3 tubs of glitter later, Jojo was certain they'd made the biggest, best sign to welcome Papa home. But Rosie wasn't so sure. "I think we might be missing something," she said. "I don't know, 3 tubs of glitter, what could you possibly be missing?" Jojo thought carefully. Papa loves the garden. We should bring him some of his very special flowers. So Rosie and Jojo went out to their yard and picked some of Papa's very special flowers. Rosie was certain they'd made the biggest, best bouquet to welcome Papa home. But Jojo wasn't so sure. He said, "I think we might be missing something." Rosie thought carefully. "Papa loves cake," she said. "I think we need a 7-layer chocolate cake with purple frosting." "Ooh, and yellow," Jojo added. "Purple and yellow it is," said Rosie. So Rosie and Jojo marched into the kitchen, but there was one problem. They weren't allowed to bake by themselves. "Daddy!" Jojo cried. Daddy came running. "We need some help baking a 7-layer chocolate cake with purple and yellow frosting to welcome Papa home," Rosie told him. Daddy smiled. "Well then, that's very sweet. Papa will love that," he said. So Rosie, Jojo, and Daddy baked a cake. Oh, do you see the dog? Dog is stealing the sprinkles. As Rosie and Jojo put the final touches on the cake, Daddy looked at his watch. "Uh-oh, Papa's plane's going to be landing soon. We've got to go," he said. Rosie and Jojo gathered their signs and flowers while Daddy carried the cake. "Papa's going to love all of your treats," Daddy said. Daddy was absolutely certain they had everything they needed to welcome Papa home. But Rosie and Jojo weren't so sure. "What about his slippers? His feet might be tired," Jojo said. "Good thinking, Jojo," Daddy said. "Let's go get them." So Jojo grabbed Papa's slippers and they dashed back out. "What about his robe?" Rosie asked. "And his favorite hat. We can't forget those." "We certainly can't," Daddy agreed. Rosie hurried off toward the bathroom, and back down they went. They're going to be late getting to the airport. "We can't forget his books," said Jojo as he zipped toward the bookshelf. He loves those things. Let's bring his bicycle, said Rosie, zooming into the shed. Surely we have everything Papa will need now, Daddy said, looking around. My goodness, they have lots of stuff. Wait, Jojo said, we need to bring butter. We can't leave him here all alone. Papa surely missed butter, Rosie explained. Okay, butter can come, but let's not be late, Daddy said, opening the car door. Now, Rosie and Jojo were really certain that they had everything they needed to welcome Papa home. But this time, Daddy wasn't so sure. You know what we don't have in the van yet? Daddy asked. Jojo looked around. His newspaper, his favorite cup, his model airplane. Rosie looked back at the house. His bike helmet, his shaving cream, his stinky cheese. Daddy shook his head. The two of you! And Daddy buckled them into their seats. That van looks pretty full. After a long trip that involved eating just a little bit of Papa's welcome home cake, the family finally made it to the airport. Papa! Rosie and Jojo leapt into his arms the moment they saw him. We missed you. Welcome home. Papa was very grateful for everything the twins brought. I love how thoughtful you both are. Do you know what my favorite part of this welcome home is? He asked them. The cake? Asked Rosie. Your bicycle? Asked Jojo. The cake is delicious, and I love my bicycle, Papa said. But the best part of coming home is the four of you. So Rosie and Jojo hugged him again and again and again, and Daddy and Butter joined in too. Because now they positively, absolutely knew for sure that they had everything they needed to welcome Papa home. But there was one last problem. What do you think it is? Where was Papa going to sit? Oh, and I love you, Daddy, Papa, and Butter. So cute. All right, my friends, should we sing our song? It's not flipping the page. I think that was the last page. This was just the back cover. Should we sing our song, my friends? Oh man, now we're gonna flip the page to our song.
We are children of the stars, we are children of the earth, we are spinners and weavers in this web of life, and the joy that we weave reaches out beyond the stars and deep within the center of our being. We are children of tomorrow, we are children of our dreams, we are planners and builders in this web of life, and the future that we weave reaches out beyond the stars and deep within the center of our being.
Good morning. I'm Chris Walter, and I didn't think twice when Susan Smith asked if I'd be willing to share a reflection of my dad, Donald Toby Tobias. Both of my parents, who passed in 2009, are on my mind and heart every day, but it's my dad who is linked to the word freedom and responsibility in my life. I'm privileged to share just a bit of my father's life and his impact on mine this morning. Dad, Pop, Toby, was sometimes a man who was larger than life because of all he accomplished, given the circumstances that were surrounding him. Dad was my all-time hero. Was he perfect? Heavens no, none of us are. I remember waiting and waiting for my dad after my weekly accordion lessons at Seswick Studio in Reading, Pennsylvania. But how time flew for him, having a good time with drinking buddies at a local tap room where he went to pass the time during my lessons. But the most powerful feelings and thoughts I get when I think of my dad is his overwhelming positive attitude. I always got the impression that there wasn't any problem Dad could overcome. His mind seemed to always brim with ideas and possible solutions. He always made me and others feel like anything was possible and that you could do or accomplish anything. He was very encouraging with everyone. I remember seeing precious small notes of encouragement he left on our dining table that I would see before school with his signature smiley face. I was raised in a loving working class family with the outlook by Dad that all will be well, even when bill collectors phoned. Dad grew up in the 1920s and 30s in small neighborhoods around Reading. It was a hard-scrabble life like many others in that era, but being surrounded by the love and support from his dear mother, Catherine Tobias Keller, his aunts and uncles, and then stepbrothers and sisters, he developed an awesome work ethic and a very strong spirit to succeed. He was an excellent student, even advancing through several grades in elementary school, excelling in mathematics. I remember grocery shopping with Dad many times, and him having the total bill figured out before the clerk cashed us out. Dad had to work a lot outside of school to help the family. He went through school being Donald Keller, his stepfather's name. After some hard times at home and running away as a teen, a family friend got Dad and Dad's friend jobs at one of the hosiery mills in the area. This was a huge industry in Reading before World War II. To get a work permit, his mother had to tell Dad that he was actually Donald Tobias, her maiden name. Dad's work ethic as an adult included a creative spirit with his business Canine Cafeteria, selling dog food door to door. Later, he worked at Modern Ironworks during the day and in the evenings installed TV antennas. He took classes through Penn State Extension and he worked as an estimator at small structural and ornamental steel shops, studying project blueprints and figuring the amounts and costs of steel needed, then placing those bids, often successfully getting work for those steel shops. Work he continued until age 85. His hard work, and Mom's too, moved our family into the middle class, where I was the first in generations to attend college. But before all that, there was wartime work at Orr and Sembauer, which had military contracts for ocean buoys and mini boilers so that sailors could have fresh water on ships. Dad worked in that shop doing layout work. Working not too far from him was Helen Weiss. They often caught each other's eyes and smiled. And after dates, playing tennis, and meeting each other's families, they married on a snowy day, January 15th, 1944. Mom and Dad were married just 2 days shy of 65 years when Mother died January 13th, 2009. A year after marriage, Dad was on his way west to repair damaged warships in the Pearl Harbor Navy Yard. I was born 2 weeks later, February 12th, 1945. Dad's work in Pearl Harbor was as a layout person in the shop, where he met his good friend, Jimmy Williams, a Hawaiian Portuguese man, and his family. Mom and Dad visited that family in 1994 on their 50th wedding anniversary trip to Hawaii. They remained lifelong friends, and that brought a diverse cultural awareness and appreciation to our family. Dad lived and ate with U.S. Marines in Pearl Harbor. He and his co-workers rebuilt the naval shipyard and the fleet. Blueprints of all the vessels were analyzed. When damage was incurred, the parts that were needed were radioed back to the yard. By the time the damaged ship came in, the replacement parts were ready. But after work, Dad loved a good time and was often responsible for the good time. He was very sociable, interacting and talking with everybody. He loved to organize get-togethers all year round and summer picnics in our backyard in Laureldale, Pennsylvania. Clam bakes or other cookouts, where he sometimes arranged to rent a movie or two with the projector and screen, and always some cartoons for the kids, and all the neighbors were invited too. After our family joined Rosedale Evangelical and Reformed Church, later UCC or United Church of Christ in Laureldale, Dad eagerly got involved with the scouting program when my brother was Cub Scout age. He often said his best years were with the church and the Boy Scouts, where he even earned the Order of the Arrow. Dad involved Mom and I in many Boy Scout trips and work projects, and he instilled a love of being active outdoors. Something very poignant that impressed me about Dad during the last 10 to 15 years of his life was his tender love of Mom. During summers when I visited them in Pennsylvania for a month or more, I remember sitting in the living room in the evenings, watching the Phillies on TV, Dad in his recliner, Mom in hers. Dad would look over at Mom, and eventually he would utter, "Isn't she beautiful?" Or, "Helen, your hair is just so pretty today." Or simply, "I love you." Even when Lewy body dementia interfered with Dad's clarity the last 2 to 3 years of his and Mom's lives, he often was able to rise to occasions and converse with people and joke as always. Anything was possible if you put your heart into it and your best foot forward. And that's the message I always received. Thank you, Dad.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Chris. Good morning, friends. I'm Connie Metcalf, a member of the care team here at UU. It is now our practice as a religious community to set aside time in our service to name and honor the joys and concerns that have marked our lives, the milestones and moments of our lived experience. I will be sharing the joys and concerns that have been offered up for us to hold in our hearts today. If you have a joy or concern that it's a bit too heavy to share, I invite you to reach out to Rev Alex or to the congregational care team. And the team has little purple badges underneath, so you can pick us out. If your joy or concern is still raw and tender, we invite you to hold it on your heart as you are held in this loving community. None of us is meant to travel life's journey alone. And so now, here is what has been offered up today. It is so sad last night to see law enforcement in riot gear and armed and ready to fire against conscientious citizens protesting against roundups. Susan Smith. Yesterday would have been our grandson Tanner's 19th birthday. We miss his witty jokes and remember his great smile. Mary and Dave Newhouse. Wishing a speedy and uneventful recovery for my niece Megan, who broke her ankle. This from Chris Lutz. We are so thrilled to celebrate Maria's 3rd birthday. She is such a bright light in the world. Sheridan and Josh. We just passed the first anniversary of my mom, Joanne's death. When remembering her, something special that she passed away outdoors with the scent of lilacs in the air, and the knowledge brings me a lot of gratitude and joy even as I miss her. This from Krista Kane. And for me, saddened with the passing of my friend and UU member, Nancy Landfair. Grateful to know that she is now at peace, and it was wonderful to meet her sister and her son finally, after having heard years and years of stories about her wonderful family. And do please enjoy the beautiful tapestries that are hanging. Most of them, they were all made by members of our congregation.
Please join us in singing our song of response, Spirit of Life.
Hi. My mother always said you don't come into this world knowing how to raise kids. You just do the best you can. My father lost his father from pneumonia when he was just 9 years old. So he received very few lessons from his father. My wife's father was raised by his grandmother in the Netherlands. His father served on ships at sea and he was rarely at home. When he was just 14 years old, he came to New York to finally live with his father. His dad died 2 years later. Both my wife's father and my father lost their fathers at a very early age. I wonder what fatherly lessons they missed out on. My dad taught me so much. I remember honesty as his most important value. Respect was another lesson Dad taught us. He instilled manners such as saying please and thank you. And we're not allowed to wear hats in a public building or eat at a table with a hat on. A father's love is unique, profound, embodying qualities that shape children in fundamental ways. It often expresses itself differently than maternal love. While mothers might wrap children in protective warmth, fathers frequently show love through challenges and encouragement, motivating children to try new things, take calculated risks, and develop confidence in their abilities. This isn't because fathers care less, but because they often express love by building strength and resilience. My dad created a safe and secure environment. He even saved my life once and rescued a neighbor's child from strangulation. He provided us with freedom from worrying, knowing he was always there. He had immense pride and support for his boys, Dad showed his love by attending our sports games, coaching our teams, and serving as a Boy Scout leader. He worked long hours at his job, yet he provided us with a consistent presence. His love might be expressed less verbally, but it was deeply felt and demonstrated through his actions and sacrifices. He taught me maintenance skills, basic repairs like fixing leaky faucets, changing light fixtures, using tools correctly, and understanding how household systems fundamentally worked. He instructed me in car maintenance, including performing tune-ups, changing oil, replacing tires, jump-starting a car properly, and in my words, we never had to dial a dude to fix anything. Dad taught me a lot about machinery and mechanics. I was the only son out of 4 who followed in his footsteps. The others became salesmen, entertainers, and educators. He taught me discipline and how to follow instructions. He also taught me respect and importance of treating others well, especially my mother and other women, and all women. Dad's example instilled a strong work ethic in me. He worked hard and often took a second job to support our family. He taught us basic safety and emergency procedures, including first aid and how to respond to various emergency situations. Dad was the safety officer in his factory. He also taught me boating safety, how to swim, how to dive off a high diving board. He showed me how to steer a canoe properly from the front as well as the back. And he also taught me how to drive a powerboat. At 23, I became a father. It wasn't easy because my wife had preeclampsia. The doctor informed me that she had a 50-50 chance of survival and could potentially be permanently blind. He also told me that the baby had little chance of survival. Pat survived and never lost her eyesight. Our daughter weighed 3 pounds, 7 ounces, and she was placed in an isolette. Freedom isn't a fixed state. It's dynamic, continually shifting as we go through various phases of life, relationships, and circumstances. My freedom changed drastically overnight. I now had new priorities, responsibilities, and emotional connections. Since Pat was still unconscious, I had to give our daughter a name, call a priest, and have her baptized. Because if she died, she would go to limbo instead of heaven. Yeah, right. My time was no longer entirely mine. Now I devoted to little Patty's needs, feeding, changing diapers, soothing, assisting my wife with our new baby. On the other hand, I gained new freedoms. I could be a child again, making silly noises, doing goofy things to make my daughter laugh. As she grew older, I had to be very careful not to sit on her imaginary friend. Kids can embarrass you in the public. When she was about 3 years old, we were at a restaurant. Her mother had gone into the restroom, and the waitress brought us an appetizer of meatballs in a bowl. Patty looked at them and in a loud voice said, "What's that shit in the bowl, Dad?" The waitress was shocked, and so was I. I often remind my daughter that nothing she could do would prevent me from welcoming her home. Father's Day holds a unique emotional significance depending on your relationship with fatherhood. It can evoke profound joy, quiet reflection, or complex feelings. For those without fathers, Father's Day could be complicated. It may highlight an absence, evoke grief, or serve as a reminder of what is missing. However, it can also be a time to honor father figures who stepped in, grandfathers, uncles, mentors, family friends who provided guidance and support. I'm grateful to have my father. At its best, Father's Day is not just about greeting cards and barbecues. It acknowledges the profound impact fathers have on shaping lives the sacrifices made often without recognition, and the lasting bonds that define family relationships across generations. The day reminds us that fatherhood, like all deep relationships, is a tremendous responsibility and a remarkable gift.
What powerful reflections and remembrances this morning. Thank you all. We've come to the time in our service where we express our generosity through our gifts, given in anticipation of thoughtful stewardship, knowing they will make a difference. Those gifts sustain our building and its associated costs, our staff, and those in need in our community who have been thoughtfully selected as recipients. In addition, the board has earmarked a portion of our donations for our social justice work. Freedom isn't free and is an uphill battle with an attached cost. In all these ways, our offerings reflect our commitment to our UU shared values. If you're watching at home, you may choose any of the ways described in the slide to make your donations. And now let us enjoy our meditation and offertory music, songs of worship and praise from South Africa, performed by Margie Hunter on piano.
My reflection takes a little different spin on responsibility of freedom. It's really aimed towards national freedom. I'm going to tell you about my father's service as a B-24 pilot during World War II. The connection to freedom seems so magnified right now. In my one lifetime, we have, as a country, gone through a lot since World War II. But up until now, the very continuation of democracy hasn't been at risk. Now we face authoritarianism much like Germany in the World War II era. I will speak of my father's experience being in peril almost daily to stop Hitler, in hopes I might remind all of us about the sacrifices made for our freedom. In 2004, I was really moved visiting Italy exactly 60 years after my father was there during the war. On returning home, I started doing research to see if I could find anything out about his crew. It didn't take long. The 98th Bomb Group has a website. I made connections quickly with Dad's really good buddy on the crew, Don Tremaine, the top turret gunner. That connection led to the possibility of a phone number maybe being the radio man out in Mesa, Arizona. So I called that number, and when John Lundberg picked up, I said, "Mr. Lundberg, I'm Peter Van Valen's daughter, and I'm wondering if you might have been on his crew during the summer of 1944 in Lecce, Italy." There was a long pause. And then, with a crackling voice, John said, "I've been looking for my crew for 60 years. We took a trip to Mesa to connect Don and John, but that's a whole another story. From Don and John and Harold Peterson, the navigator, I learned so much about the missions they flew, things Dad never talked about. So the stories of these men are the ones I'll use to describe Dad's last two missions. July 20, 1944, the mission was Friedrichshafen, Germany, to target a munition factory. They dropped their bombs and turned off target only to be clobbered by flak and anti-aircraft fire. 2 engines on the same wing were knocked out. Engine number 3 was hit, and the plane was circling wildly. Dad said in his letter home, "We lost 5,000 feet before you could bat an eye." He and the pilot, Stoddard Lane, did everything they possibly could, and miraculously, they leveled the plane out. They could not stay in formation, so they were a slow-moving, low-flying target in enemy airspace. Harold Peterson told me that the pilots called him up to the cockpit to explain, "We can't get enough altitude to go over the Alps to get home. You need to get us through the Alps." And he did. They were feeling relieved as they could see the Adriatic Sea. Then Don Tremaine called out, "German fighters at 10 o'clock high." The pilot responded, acknowledging their fate. "We're going down fighting. Make every shot count." Soon after, Don called out, "We've got our fighters chasing the Germans and they're turning off." John Lundberg, again emotionally, told me that they were the Tuskegee Airmen, the fighter planes with the red tails so they could be recognized. They escorted Dad's bomber to their base, which was closer than the long trip back to their base. The Tuskegee Airmen never lost a bomber they escorted. As if that is not enough, 2 days later, July 22nd, Dad and Don were on a crew that was different from their own, and the mission was to bomb Ploesti, Romania, where Hitler's oil refineries were located. The airmen considered this mission a suicide mission. Dad was the air discipline officer on that flight, so he kept the planes flying in tight formation. Don served as the waist gunner. As they approached target, Dad helped pass Don this shaft, a tinfoily kind of material, and Don was throwing that out the waist window to try to throw off the radar below. Dad looked up only to see that Don's right hand had been blown off by flak. He spent the rest of the flight giving first aid to Don, and I don't think he ever knew what was happening in the front of the plane. I was lucky enough to contact the captain of the crew they were with, and his navigator had a written report of the conditions in the front of the plane. As they approached target, fighter planes attacked and took out the hydraulics and the radio and 2 engines. The nose turret gunner was trapped because he had his gun turned all the way to one side when the hydraulics went out. And gas was dripping and he couldn't breathe. And nobody could help him because at that point the bombardier controls the plane. But after bombs away, the navigator and the bombardier could help him. The flight engineer was a genius and somehow feathered engines and got gasoline from the engines that were out to feed the engines that were still running. This plane was an hour and a half late approaching Italy. They had no radio contact, so they were assumed lost. As they neared the coast, there was a heavy haze, and they missed their first approach to land. So they came around, manually got the wheels down, and were ready to land. 500 meters short of the airfield, the last 2 engines quit, and they crash landed into a field. The ingenious flight engineer who saved them all was killed instantly. The rest got out. Don remembers Dad helping him get out of the waist window. You can see that dark area is the waist window. And they ran away from the plane expecting it to explode. The crew was sent home after those 2 flights, and Dad served out the war stateside. On reflection, I think my father knew he was one of the really fortunate ones to survive. He suffered what we now call PTSD and got through it. He lived the rest of his life with such joy and gratitude. I think he influenced my sister and I so much with his gratitude. I don't think I'd make it through life because I depend on gratitude to get me through everything. And joy. He was our joy. For the freedom that he helped save, I am so grateful, and I'm so committed to fight to save our democracy. We'll have a moment of silence while we let freedom and responsibility and fathers soak in.
Would you please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn, number 151, I Wish I Knew How. I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all these chains holding me. I wish I could say all the things I could say. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear, for the whole world to hear. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear, for the whole world to hear. I wish I could share all the love in my heart. Remove all the bars, let us keep us apart. I wish you could know what it means to be me. Say it loud, say agree. Everyone should be free. We see and agree. Everyone should be free. I wish I could give all I'm longing to give. I wish I could live like I'm longing to live. I wish I could do all the things I can do. Though I'm way overdue, I'd be starting anew. Though I'm way overdue, I'd be starting anew. I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. How sweet it would be if I found I could fly. Soar to the sun and look down at the sea. Then I sing 'cause I know how it feels to be free. Then I sing 'cause I know how it feels to be free.
I want to thank all the people who shared their reflections this morning. It was so rewarding for all of us and so meaningful. And it came clearly from your hearts to ours. Thank you. Now, as Dave releases the flame, I will read these words written by Cheryl Strayed in Tiny Beautiful Things. When it comes to our children, we do not have the luxury of despair. If we rise, they will rise with us every time, no matter how many times we've fallen before. I hope you will remember that the next time you fail. I hope I will too. Remembering that is the most important work as parents we can possibly do. Flame is released. Now I have a series of announcements, and I'll apologize in advance that they're a little bit lengthy. From Sacred Grounds on Wednesday, June 11th, that's this Wednesday at 2 p.m., meet in the yellow classroom here at the church to outline future actions and events. Please join with your ideas and suggestions to further the restoration of our ecosystem. From the Social Justice Action Committee, fighting to save our freedom. Friday night, June 13th, starting at 5:30 p.m., gather here in the social hall for pizza, salad, making signs, singing old protest songs with Marty Chirgwin playing piano. Get ready for the big No Kings protest on Saturday the 14th. Please sign up at the Social Justice Action Table in the social hall or email Mary Van Valen and let her know you're coming. Materials for signs will be available, or you can bring your own. Meet for the protest at the Governmental Center parking lot near the corner of 8th and Boardman, close to the stoplight. UUCGT members will show up together at 12 noon on Saturday, June 14th. We hope you can join us, and that is from Mary and Mike, who say thanks. With regret, we are canceling the Saturday, June 14th picnic. That's next Saturday. Several issues necessitated the cancellation. We apologize for your disappointment and any inconvenience. Please note, however, that the potluck at the Maters for Wednesday, June 11th, is good to go. Carl Kyneth will be building a ramp for Chris Lautz this week for use by her niece Megan, who has broken her ankle. If you're willing to help, contact Carl. He's over there in the yellow shirt, so please see him after the service. He's building it this week. From the Sunday Services Committee, on June 22nd, Sunday, UUCGT will attend a UUA General Assembly live-streamed service here. We will join the annual meeting service in the largest gathering of UUers across the country. Now, gather here at UUCGT at 10 a.m. to socialize and have coffee before the service. We will move into the sanctuary at 10:45 to give our hospitality hosts time to clean up and join us for the service. There will be no coffee and refreshments after the service. Live stream of that service will begin at 11 a.m. If you can't attend here, you can tune in online. Now, all are invited to stand and join outstretched hands as we hear closing words from Dave Newhouse. Or use the sign of "Don't touch me." You know, that's a possibility.
As we close this meditation today, rejoice that we have freedom. Believe we are not alone. Know that we are worthy of love and justice. Remind yourself and everyone you know, we can be beacons of hope and justice. Today, listen to some fathering words that we may not hear often enough, like, I love you just the way you are. I have confidence in you. You can achieve your goals. I will stand behind you. You can depend on me. I am proud of you. Stand up for yourself. Your opinions and your feelings are important. I have faith in you. Go in peace.